Hey guys, welcome to week 7 of e-learning. So 7th graders, this is going to be the video to show you what I'm going to be making. I'm going to walk through some steps of different things on how to do it, just so you guys can see some of the steps that I'm taking, some of the ingredients I'm using, and what I'm doing. Foods 2 kids, this is for you guys just to have an example video of what I want and what I expect of you to do for your assignment this week. So Foods 2, you guys can kind of watch in and out. I'm sure you guys kind of know what's happening already, but if you want to watch it, you're welcome to. If not, you're fine. 7th graders, you need to watch the video. So what I'm going to be making is I'm going to be making some supper for you guys. And so what we're having for supper tonight is we're going to be having some salmon, roasted potatoes, and then we'll have some strawberries cut up on the side as well. And if Grant's super hungry, maybe I'll add some rice or something like that. But this is kind of the plan for now. So I'm going to walk through the steps on how to do each of these things. So we're going to start with the potatoes first. Well, actually, I'm going to start with my sanitation. So I already washed my hands, I got my hair back, and I have an apron on. So covering all my sanitation stuff, I also wiped off the table and cleaned up all the stuff that I'm using today. So first thing. Second thing, we're going to start with the potatoes. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to be using sweet potatoes and some Red's potatoes. So I need to peel the skin off of my potatoes. So 7th graders, it's going to be more for you than my Foods 2 kids. But as you guys can see, I already peeled off some of the skin. You can see the skin on this one. So I'm going to take my peeler, and if I just run it along the edge of my potato, it's going to take that skin right off for me. Okay, and normally I would do this over the garbage, so that way those little peels go into the garbage. But for the sake of the video, I just want you guys to be able to see what is happening. So then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to dice my potato into a large dice. So I'm going to turn the video so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take my knife, and like we talked about last week, 7th graders, and I'm going to use that claw method to cut this. So I'm going to put my fingers into a claw. I'm going to rock my knife back and forth to slice this into small slices. And then I'm going to take, so I'm going to leave these ends off. I'm going to take a couple of these and I'm going to cut them into large cubes. So I'm just going to kind of cut them into 4s, and then I'm going to place them onto my baking sheet. And I'll do the same with these ones, and then I'll cut this end piece as well. So a little side note, this is actually Monday morning, and I didn't end up making this recipe last night like I was hoping to because we had some friends over and I didn't end up getting to it. So this is actually Monday morning, so I'm not going to quite do all the stuff I'd actually do since I'm not making supper for myself at 8:30 in the morning. So I have my potatoes cut onto my baking pan. So I have the baking pan sprayed with cooking spray. I would obviously do more potatoes than this. But then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to drizzle some olive oil over the top of these. And I'm not actually going to do that again because, like I said, it's morning. So I drizzle some olive oil over the top. And then I'm also going to put some salt and pepper. And I'll actually do that right now. So some salt and some pepper. And then all I'm going to do with these potatoes, so this is a super healthy option, is I'm going to cook them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 35-ish minutes. And it just kind of makes them a little more crisp, and it tastes really good, and it's really healthy because all that's on them is salt, pepper, and olive oil, which are all pretty healthy things for you. So that is my potato dish. So these would go into the oven and they would cook. The next thing that I'm going to be working on is the salmon. So I have, if you guys want to see my table here, I have a giant salmon, but I'm not going to be eating all of that. So I cut off a little piece. It's probably about the size of piece that I would actually eat. I cut off a little piece, and I'm actually going to marinate my salmon. And so what I'm using for marinade is all I'm using is melted butter, garlic cloves. So some of you, maybe your parents buy an actual garlic clove and you have to chop it up and mince it up. This is already minced for me. It's super nice. And so that way I don't have to worry about buying garlic and then mincing everything up. So I'm going to use minced garlic, and then I'm going to use a pastry brush to brush that over onto my salmon. So as you guys can see, I already have my butter melted. So I used 1 tablespoon of melted butter. And I'm going to put in 1 minced garlic clove. And so if you read the directions, it says half a teaspoon equals approximately 1 clove of garlic. So I'm going to use my measuring spoons here. I'm going to grab my half a teaspoon. So this is what my half a teaspoon looks like. So grab that. I'm going to dip it into my minced garlic, and it's okay if you do a little bit more typically with minced garlic. Put that into my melted butter. Put that over to the side. Then I'm going to use my pastry brush to mix those two together. And then what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to be marinating my salmon. So I'm going to take my pastry brush and I'm just going to run it over the top of my salmon. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of lemon. So I enjoy lemon on my salmon. It's just a good way to add a little bit of citrus in there and some acid, so it helps soak up this butter and garlic. And so I'm just going to cut that up and leave those sitting on the top of my piece of salmon. And so I'm just going to slice these. I'll move my camera again for you. Sorry, I'm working with my computer. It's kind of hard to do this by myself. But I'm going to slice these into some thin slices. I'm not a big fan of getting seeds onto my food. And so I make sure I take the seeds out. But what I would do then is I would take this lemon piece and I would set it on top of my salmon. I'd probably do 2 of them. And we are actually going to cook these on the Traeger. So what the Traeger does is it smokes the salmon, or the food that we put on there. You could also put it into the grill or on the oven or on the stove top with a skillet or a baking sheet, baking pan. So you can do either. We're going to be using the Traeger. So we'd cook those for about 20 minutes and they'd be finished. Then I have some strawberries that I would chop up and have those on the side as well. But that is all that I'm having for supper. So I've hit most of my food group categories. So I have my potatoes, which would be in the vegetable category. I have my salmon, which would be in the protein category or the meat category. I'm having fruit, which could be considered my strawberries, obviously in the fruit category. And then the grains and the dairy category for this meal is all that I'm missing. And so for us, typically Paisley will have like a cup of milk with her supper tonight, and they actually do, Easton and Paisley both enjoy salmon and potatoes. And so for us, this meal is perfect. We hit all of our food categories. The grains kind of falls with the potatoes as well. There's lots of carbs in the potatoes. And so we kind of hit all the categories. But those of you that are out there like, Mrs. Morgan, that's disgusting. I hate salmon. Obviously cook something else for your family or do something that your family likes so that you actually enjoy. But we all enjoy this food, and this is going to be a simple, easy meal for us. And it'll probably be done in about 30 to 40 minutes. So it's not too long to cook and to prepare. And so the steps that I did again, sanitizing, safety. So I did my washing hands, apron, hair on. I also used sanitation with my cutting board. So I cut my potatoes on here, but I also cut my lemons. If I was going to cut my salmon on this cutting board, I would want to switch out the cutting boards because I wouldn't want my salmon juices onto my cutting board and knife, just because that would be cross-contamination, so it'd be really gross. So I did that safety-wise. I've been using different, so I used a different teaspoon and a different knife and a different peeler for the different stuff. I'm making sure I didn't touch the salmon, but if I touched it, I'd make sure to wash my hands in between touching all my other food as well. And then obviously just cutting my food up using the claw method. And same thing with the lemon, using the claw method. I cut that into slices. So I sliced this. I diced my potatoes, a large dice with the potatoes. And then I used a pastry brush to brush over my salmon. Also using a teaspoon, tablespoon, knives, peeler for you 7th graders that are still kind of learning your kitchen tools and utensils and whatnot. But I believe that is all I have for you today. I wish I could, maybe I'll post a picture of our final meal after this. But hope you guys all have a great week. Again, Foods 2, this is just an example for you guys. 7th graders, this is kind of a video that I want you to make, and it does not need to be this long. It can be longer or it can be shorter. Same thing, Foods 2 kids, your video can be longer or shorter. But this is kind of an example of what you need to do. I would like you to kind of explain the tools you're using and the process that you're going about, your ingredients, and all of that. So, hope you guys have a great week this week, and thank you for watching my video. See ya!